At 77 years old, Kathy Bates stands as one of Hollywood's most powerful and fearless women, a performer whose talent has never relied on glamour, but on raw, soul-cutting honesty. Yet behind the unforgettable roles, behind the Oscars, the applause, and the fierce characters she brought to life, lies a story the cameras rarely showed. A story of private battles, silent heartbreak, and a strength that has been tested again and again. Most fans remember her as the unstoppable Annie Wilkes in Misery, the fiery Molly Brown in Titanic, or the fearless crusader in Richard Jewell. But what they don't know is that while she was delivering legendary performances, Kathy Bates was also fighting pain that could have ended her career forever, and nearly did. Hundreds of scripts, red carpet flashing lights, and award show standing ovations never revealed the truth she carried inside. Cancer not once, but twice, a life-altering medical condition, and a struggle with her body she never chose, but had to learn to survive. Hollywood celebrates beauty, yet Kathy Bates became iconic without chasing the mold, and paid a heavy emotional price for it. Rejected for roles, doubted because of her looks, and later physically changed forever by illness, her journey is not just about fame. It is about a woman who refused to give up when fate tried again and again to break her. This is the painful truth behind Kathy Bates's life at 77. A story of courage, loss, and resilience that will make you see her in a way you never have before. Prepare yourself, because what she endured will touch your heart. Long before Kathy Bates earned an Academy Award, before she terrified the world in Misery or became a symbol of acting excellence, she was just a young girl in Memphis who dreamed bigger than anyone around her could imagine. Born in 1948, Kathy wasn't the typical Hollywood prototype. Not then, not ever. She didn't have the classic leading lady looks, she didn't have family connections in the industry, and she didn't arrive in Hollywood with the kind of face-casting directors adored. But she had something most actors never find, a burning fire inside her, the kind that refuses to go out, even in storms. In her college days at Southern Methodist University, Kathy studied theater with the same intensity a soldier trains for battle. She knew she would have to fight harder than most because the world didn't expect greatness from a girl like her. And she felt that judgment early. Countless auditions and countless rejections followed. Casting directors told her she wasn't pretty enough, marketable enough, or commercial enough. She wasn't thin, she wasn't glamorous, and she refused to pretend to be someone she wasn't. Imagine walking into every room knowing that talent alone wouldn't be enough. That no matter how brilliant you were, Hollywood would look first at your body before it ever saw your soul. Many would have quit. Many did quit, crushed under the weight of beauty standards that valued appearance over ability. But Kathy Bates kept going. Every no she heard became fuel. Every closed door became motivation. She moved to New York, worked survival jobs, lived in cheap apartments, and kept chasing auditions. Sometimes she cried, sometimes she doubted herself, but she never surrendered. Slowly, the theater world noticed her, those who didn't care about looks but lived for pure, honest performance. On the Broadway stage, Kathy Bates wasn't just accepted. She was celebrated. She was intense, unpredictable, compelling. And suddenly, Hollywood could no longer ignore her. And then, finally, her breakout moment arrived. In 1990, after years of scraping by and refusing to shrink herself for anyone, she landed the role that would change her life, Annie Wilkes in Misery. The role was chilling, demanding, and emotionally brutal, and Kathy embodied it so completely that audiences forgot she was acting. She delivered a performance so powerful, so terrifying, so unforgettable, that she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. It should have been pure triumph. But life is rarely that simple. Even after winning Hollywood's biggest honor, she still faced the same painful whispers about her appearance. Commentators called her unconventional, odd, difficult to market. Imagine that, being one of the greatest actors alive, yet hearing the world say, "But she doesn't look like a star." Kathy never let those voices define her. But deep inside, those years of rejection left scars. To achieve greatness, she had sacrificed comfort, health, relationships, and parts of herself few would ever see. Behind the scenes, She struggled with body image and health problems that she hid from the world. People saw the powerful character she played, but they did not see the woman fighting silent battles when the cameras turned off. Yet through the pain, she never stopped climbing. Each role, each performance, each hard-earned success proved that talent and strength matter more than beauty and fame. Kathy Bates didn't just survive Hollywood, she bent it to her will, forcing it to respect her talent, even if it refused to fit her into its standards. But that was only the beginning. Because the greatest challenges of her life, the ones that nearly took everything from her, were still waiting ahead. Tragedies no spotlight could soften, illnesses no amount of courage could prevent, and emotional wounds no applause could heal. She survived rejection. Now she would have to survive something far more frightening, her own body turning against her. Just when Kathy Bates had finally carved her name into Hollywood history, just when the world began to recognize her as one of the most fearless performers alive, life delivered a blow more brutal than any rejection, any criticism, any insult she had ever faced. Fame brings attention, success brings respect, but none of those things can shield a person from the cruel hands of fate. In 2003, Kathy Bates received news that left her breathless: ovarian cancer. It wasn't just a medical diagnosis. It was a storm, a life-shattering earthquake that shook her to her core. For years she had fought to be seen, to be valued, to be respected. Now she had to fight to simply stay alive. Cancer doesn't care about awards. It doesn't care about fame, talent, or legacy. It arrives without warning and demands everything. Many actors use their pain as fuel, but this wasn't emotional pain. This was the kind that steals your strength, your confidence, your safety. Overnight, Kathy went from red carpets and scripts to hospital rooms and doctors' voices, discussing survival instead of roles. Most people would break. But Kathy Bates didn't break. She went to war. She quietly underwent treatment, refusing to make her illness a publicity moment. She continued working when she could, hiding her pain behind poise and professionalism. Imagine filming, smiling, performing, all while fighting a disease that drains your body and attacks your hope. But she survived. She fought back. She won. And when she walked out of that battle alive, she believed the worst was behind her. She breathed again, made plans again, allowed herself to imagine a future again. Yet fate, as if determined to test the limits of her strength, was not finished. Years later, just when she regained stability, another devastating diagnosis came. Breast cancer, another life-changing battle. Another emotional collapse followed by the painful work of rebuilding herself. Many people don't realize the psychological toll of cancer. Fear of recurrence, fear of losing yourself, fear of leaving the world too soon. But Kathy carried those fears quietly, like a warrior who refuses to let the world see her bleeding. This time the cost was even higher. The treatment forced her to undergo a double mastectomy, a surgery that doesn't just remove tissue. It forever alters your body, your identity, your reflection in the mirror. Kathy once said losing her breasts was like losing part of her womanhood, a private heartbreak most will never understand. And through it all, she did what she has always done. She kept going. She acted. She spoke. She worked. She refused to let cancer define the ending of her story. But those surgeries led to a complication she hadn't prepared for. Lymphedema, a chronic and painful condition that causes severe swelling, discomfort, and lifelong physical changes. Kathy described waking up one day, unable to move her arm normally, terrified, confused, and heartbroken. For someone whose career depended on physical expression, it felt like another piece of herself slipping away. Hollywood never saw these moments. They weren't filmed. There were no award shows honoring these battles, no glamour in the nights she cried from fear or pain. Illness stripped away every layer of fame and left her standing face to face with her deepest vulnerability, yet she still did not quit. She turned her suffering into advocacy, raising awareness so others wouldn't suffer in silence like she did. She stood in front of cameras again, not as a movie villain, but as a real-life hero fighting for others. Through cancer, surgeries, and chronic pain, Kathy Bates didn't just survive. She transformed, showing the world that true strength doesn't roar, it endures. And while many saw her return as proof of victory, they never realized the emotional scars she continued carrying, the fear that never quite left, and the quiet grief for what illness had taken from her. But surviving illness was only one chapter, because soon, aging, career pressures, and emotional losses would test her in ways no disease ever could. Surviving cancer twice would break most people. But for Kathy Bates, the battles did not end when the hospital doors closed. As she moved forward, physically changed and emotionally scarred, Hollywood, the place she fought so hard to belong to, became both a sanctuary and a battlefield once again. Fame is loud, but healing is quiet. And in this quiet, Kathy faced some of the most painful moments of her life. For years, she had built a career on strength, grit, and characters who refused to be defeated. Yet off-screen, she found herself confronting a truth many stars hide. Success does not protect you from loneliness. Her career remained impressive, but roles grew fewer, and the industry she proved wrong again and again still dared to question her worth as she aged. After her surgeries, she noticed the whispers again, silent, polite, but sharp enough to cut. Directors stopped calling as often. Scripts slowed down. Hollywood, a place obsessed with youth and perfection, quietly began to move past her. Imagine giving your entire life to a craft, only to feel the world shift beneath your feet when your body changes. Kathy once admitted she feared becoming invisible, not just as an actress, but as a woman. It wasn't vanity, it was human. Every actress knows the reality. Hollywood forgives controversy, scandal, even failure, but it rarely forgives aging, especially in women. And through this professional pressure came personal heartbreak. Kathy never married after her first and only husband, Tony Campisi. Their marriage ended long before her illnesses, but the emotional wounds lingered. She has never had children, a reality she rarely discusses, but one that added a quiet ache to her life as she watched friends build families and futures. While she poured herself into her career, life outside the spotlight often felt quieter, emptier. Then came the loss of loved ones, friends, fellow actors, and family she cherished. Hollywood friendships are deep but fragile, and as time passes, the list of people who walk beside you grows smaller. Kathy once said that fame can be a lonely road, and in those years, she felt it deeply. Grief became a companion, showing up in memories, birthdays missed, voices gone forever, and through every emotional blow, lymphedema continued to remind her of what she had endured. Some mornings she woke with swelling, pain, tightness in her arm, a constant reminder of a life changed forever. She has spoken about the embarrassment of hiding compression sleeves, the frustration of feeling limited in her body, and the emotional weight of chronic illness. To fans, she was powerful, unstoppable, but in private moments, she struggled like anyone else battling loss, aging, and a body that no longer followed her commands. Yet even in loneliness, Kathy refused to retreat. She didn't crumble, she reinvented. She found therapy through creativity, returning to the stage, exploring directing, and lending her voice to causes she cared about. She turned sorrow into purpose, speaking openly about lymphedema, cancer, and aging in Hollywood. Instead of hiding, she shined a light for others who felt overlooked or broken. And in those moments, she discovered something deeper than fame: respect. Younger actors looked at her with admiration. Fans who watched her since Misery saw not just a performer, but a warrior. Hollywood might chase new faces, but Kathy Bates built something stronger: legacy. Still, her most private heartbreak was yet to unfold. A final chapter filled with lessons about resilience, self-love, and acceptance. Because even now at 77, Kathy's life reminds us that courage isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is found in waking up, choosing to live, choosing to fight, and choosing to believe your story still matters, no matter what the world says. Reaching her late 70s, Kathy Bates stands in a place few ever reach, not just a Hollywood legend, but a woman who has looked life's harshest realities in the eye and refused to back down. The cameras don't follow her every move now. The spotlight doesn't burn as brightly, but what she has today is far more valuable than red carpets or trophies. She has peace, clarity, and a sense of self she fought decades to earn. Surviving cancer twice changed her body, but surviving heartbreak, loss, and loneliness changed her spirit. Her later years have not been glamorous, but they have been honest, and that honesty has become her greatest power. Kathy no longer chases Hollywood's approval. She no longer worries about fitting into an image built for someone else. Instead, she embraces herself fully, scars, strength, softness, wisdom, and all. What most fans don't see is how deeply Kathy has committed her life to helping others. Her battle with lymphedema didn't make her retreat. It pushed her forward. She became an outspoken advocate, raising awareness for a condition that millions silently endure. She speaks at medical events, supports research, and uses her story to give hope to those who feel broken or forgotten. In interviews, she no longer hides her vulnerability. She talks about fear, about aging, about accepting a body that has changed beyond her control. She talks about losing friends, about missing the early days of her career, and about the bittersweet reality of watching time pass. But she also talks about gratitude, a word she once admitted she didn't fully understand in her youth. Kathy spends her time with people who bring peace, not pressure. She reads more, reflects more, chooses roles that matter rather than roles meant to impress. And when she does appear on screen, whether in American Horror Story, Disjointed, or other projects, audiences are reminded why she is irreplaceable. She doesn't play characters. She becomes experiences, emotions, wounds, and triumphs. Even now, she commands every frame with an intensity that time has only sharpened. Today, Kathy knows something many never learn. Life's value isn't measured in fame, beauty, or public applause. It's measured in resilience, in the ability to start again when everything feels lost, in the quiet strength to face each morning when the world feels heavy. Her story isn't about tragedy. It's about triumph through pain, dignity despite hardship, and a refusal to let life dim her fire. She once said, "With age, you have to let go of stuff. You realize what really matters." For Kathy, what matters now is meaning, not glamour. Connection, not attention. Legacy, not popularity. And perhaps that is the most heartbreaking and inspiring truth of her journey. She never let Hollywood define her. And she never let suffering destroy her. Instead, she turned every wound into wisdom, every setback into strength, and every quiet moment into reflection. Now at 77, Kathy Bates walks with a grace that only those who have survived storms can carry. She may not be the industry's first choice anymore, but she is the choice audiences will never forget. She proved that a woman's worth is not measured by youth or perfection, but by courage and authenticity. And she stands today not as a victim of tragedy, but as a victor over it. Her life reminds us that true greatness isn't loud. It endures. It heals, it grows, and it inspires. So if you ever see Kathy Bates today, not in her iconic roles, but in her quiet moments, remember this: behind that gentle smile lives a fighter who never surrendered, and a woman who turned life's hardest battles into a legacy of undefeatable strength.